Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Scott Cosenza, Dave Patterson, Graham Noble, and John Klar. And this is The Conservative Five, an online TV production of Liberty Nation News. Where is another JFK-type candidate when you need him most? Or even a Bill Clinton? How on earth is the Democratic Party going to come back after being stripped of its dignity with the Biden-Harris team? Can they bring that A game that was legend before Hillary and Harris hit the campaign trail? There's a lot of speculation about potentials. California's Governor Gavin Newsom, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, ESPN sports talking head Stephen Smith. Wow, what a list. Graham, isn't there anyone worthy of the party nod?
Well, since we're talking about the Democratic Party, I think that, anyone's worthy of the nod over there. I'll go and get some random homeless person off the street, and I think they're worthy of the nod. I think the problem that the Democrats got, and I've said it before, is that they've painted themselves into a bit of a corner with their radical policies, this kind of transgender ideology, and like always putting illegal aliens before American citizens, even if those illegal aliens are members of violent gangs. And I think they're going to have trouble. It doesn't matter who their candidate is so much, because they're going to have trouble turning that around with their progressive base is going to be disaffected about that. And, boy, do they need those people right now. But, in terms of the actual candidates, I don't know. I think I tend to think that, AOC and Bernie, they're testing out the waters right now, I believe. So they could be thinking of a ticket. And I do think that the Democrats will actually, having learned nothing from 2024, I believe they will go more radical, and they will have something like an AOC, a Bernie Sanders, maybe even, heaven forbid, Jasmine Crockett up there, with a fake ghetto accent. It could be like that. Gretchen Whitmer may have burned her bridges there, but standing in the Oval Office with a folder across her face. That was just such a rank act of, I've got to say it, cowardice, that I think the Republicans are never going to let her forget that. We're going to be seeing that picture a lot in 2028 if she was, if she managed to.
We had to deal with her communion picture. She's something else.
And that as well, that, she's really blown it. And Gavin Newsom has also blown it, because he's just really made such a mess in California, and people are streaming out of that. I'm surprised he didn't do what the Soviets did in Europe and build a wall around his states to keep people in.
Scott, I want you in here on this one.
Well, let me just say this before you even ask. There is no policy in California that can impact that man's beautiful hair. And as long as he has it, he's going to be a strong contender for anyways.
He's good looking.
Gavin Newsom. I want to ask a question before you ask me your question, which is, I have not been following the Bernie mutterings about, a new candidacy. I just want to know, is he pretending that he didn't sell out, or is he running as like hey, I am a sellout, so you establishment folks can count on me to vote for Wall Street every single time? I just didn't get the vibe yet as to how he's coming out.
Bernie is as old as the Bible. And then you've got, Long Island Lolita. Really? Is that going to be the ticket to vote for? Come
AOC,
on.
is that what they're calling AOC now?
Okay, maybe I am. I don't know. Anyway,
then of course, remember, there's always Hakeem Jeffries. He's lurking in the background with a roaring 2%, chance of becoming.
Okay, Scott, come on. Who's going to be?
He's the Orrin Hatch of the Democrat Party.
Is it Tim Walz? I mean,
oh my God, no! Come on, Tim Walz.
He stuck him on the ticket earlier.
Yeah, well, they stuck him. He was just, by the way, they stuck Kamala on the ticket too. I mean, those are nothing burgers.
Yeah, but they could have gotten out of that, and they didn't.
Gavin Newsom actually is an excellent politician. If you see him work a room, I don't think Tim Walz is an excellent politician.
No, he can't even load a shotgun.
And to get elected to run California, even though there's no cross-party competition, there is a vigorous, competition within that party. So that man knows how to win elections and big elections. So for anybody who's looking at, what's happening in the future, I think that's, an important data point to cover.
So, John Clark, do you think the party will admit it was wrong and reevaluate? Are they going to double down with Pretty Boy? I mean, what do you think they're going to do? I mean, it screwed it up so spectacularly in 2024. They're still trying to figure out what happened.
Well, that is the $64,000 sociological question. And you may recall, and our viewers may recall, that I have often cited Thomas Frank's observation in his book "Listen, Liberals," or "Listen, Liberal," how the left lost the middle class, and they're not really moving on policy issues right now to regain the majority of working class voters. And so they really have a crisis. To make an analogy to here in Vermont, we actually have a crisis. We are a very progressive state, and we don't really have any good candidates on the right to run for statewide or national elections in Vermont.
Whoever's going to plant milkweed is going to win in Vermont.
Well, the problem is you can't be on the far right and win Vermont. So anybody who is like pro-Trump or conservative, and anybody else is really called a rhino, it's a weak field, even though we have policies here for conservatives. On a national level, you have a similar problem. Who would be the Democratic candidate? I love the idea of Jasmine Crockett. I smiled when Graham mentioned her because that would be the right's favorite candidate. AOC is being praised as the Madonna of the left in this sort of populist resurgence. Bernie's out of the
my description better.
If Bernie's still even alive, well, despite the name calling. But I think that Scott's got it. We could have Tampon Tim, but what about Josh Shapiro now, especially after this? He actually was a favored candidate potentially to run instead of Kamala, which I think they might be wishing they had done that for obvious reasons. He's an interesting demographic. But they were afraid because of being a Jew. And what do they call her? They call her the Gretch. She's very closely tied to Biden and a lot of his policies. So I think she has a lot of baggage. Newsom's already he went on Charlie Kirk. He's already speaking against the far left people. He's already positioning himself to try to run more as a moderate Democrat, which is itself a transformative moment for him. So I actually think I would agree with Scott that on the current list of people, none of whom are Kennedys. They rejected Kennedy, remember. Maybe they can persuade Bobby Kennedy to run as a Democrat. They could probably win with that one, but I don't think it's happening. And so, yeah, I think Gavin Newsom, he is highly skilled, even if he's not very honest and he's a flip-flopper. He actually,
those are the tools to win, John Clark. Those are the tools.
That's what I'm saying.
Good flip-flopper, dishonest, willing to do whatever it takes.
Dave.
By the way, I'll say it again, I'm not a member of the Republican Party, but if I was, I would conduct a AstroTurf campaign to make the messaging for Michelle Obama. I'll just put Michelle everywhere, like single word. We can do it.
Like share. Okay, Dave, I want you in on this. A lot of us at Liberty Nation have embraced the fact that, Trump is doing all this big tent kind of thing. And that's why I'm not going to let Clark answer this one. But RFK is making a good name for himself. And people are embracing this Maha. They are embracing it in a lot of different ways. If you haven't been on social media, the changes that have been made on what's on social media now and what they're talking about is pretty, it's a movement. And so I want to know, is he going to join MAGA maybe and run? Or is he going to run on his own? He's got to pick a party because an independent's probably not going to be able to win.
I think you have to realize that the reason that Robert Kennedy Jr. actually joined the MAGA crowd was because his thinking on domestic issues aligned quite a bit with what Trump's goals were. I mean, he wants to challenge the entrenched health bureaucracies and reduce corporate influence in the regulatory agencies, all consistent with what Donald Trump has in mind. And I think his impact, focusing on transparency and alternative health approaches, skepticism of mainstream medical mandates, that resonates with the MAGA base of distrust for institutions. And Kennedy's influence within the administration, I think, he's overseeing agencies like CDC, Food and Drug Administration, National Institute of Health, and that gives him sort of an unprecedented leverage in terms of a possible 2028 run. It also is clearly consistent with his vision. At 71 in 2025, he might prioritize this legacy and say, hey, look, I'm happy with what I've done, and I'd rather not engage in another grueling campaign. His Senate confirmation, 14-13 vote in February, shows he has cleared hurdles to wield real power. And I think Donald Trump's trust in him is central. At 74 in 2028, Kennedy could leverage his HHS profile and blending MAGA appeal with his independent brand. And his 2024 campaign shows surprising strength. Consider he polled at 22% in most of the 2023 surveys, higher than any other third-party candidate since Ross Perot. And a YouGov poll in March 2025 lists him among the GOP contenders for 2028, with 24% of Republicans open to his candidacy, though he does trail J.D. Vance at 69% and others. But, if Trump's term falters or MAGA splinters, Kennedy could run as an independent or populist Republican, capitalizing on, he's got a name recognition, and certainly he's got anti-establishment credibility.
Absolutely. And you know what? I got to tell you, if I were in charge of the Democratic Party, I'd be on a search of possible candidates that no one has ever heard of. Thanks for watching, and thanks for tuning in. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all as well. Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Now, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, or legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for the latest news and commentary. Your choice for free thinking, free speech, libertynation.com.